to declare that which is legitimate and correct, the illegitimate and the incorrect must be exposed. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 5 of the Torah portion, Qorach. Let's go again to the book of Bamidbar in Numbers, chapter number 17, where we find that Yah has instructed that each leader of each tribe is to bring the rod of their tribal authority into the presence of Yah and be left overnight. And he says, I will declare whom I choose. And he says in verse number 5, and it shall be that the rod of the man whom I choose buds, and I shall rid myself of the grumblings of the children of Israel, which they grumbled against you. That is, against you, Aaron and Moshe. Verse 8 says, and it came to be on the next day that Moshe went into the tent of witness and saw that the rod of Aaron of the house of Levi had budded and brought forth buds and blossomed and bore ripe almonds. Moshe brought out all the rods from before Yahweh to all the children of Israel, and they looked, and each man took his rod. And Yahweh said to Moshe, bring Aaron's rod back before the witness to be kept as a sign against the rebels, so that you put an end to their grumbling against me, lest they die. Here he re-identifies that the target of the grumbling and complaining is not just Moshe and Aaron, but in rejecting them, he says they're rejecting me. Consider this. You have a rod. I have here in my office a rod. This is from a myrtle tree. And you can see that it is blunt on one end. And if I can get it turned up here, and on the other. And so I have this rod that I've used in Sukkot and so forth to lead worship, and it has the names of Yah inscribed upon it. But it's a piece of dead wood. This myrtle rod does not bear any leaves. There is no life in the wood itself. It's just a hard piece of wood. It's a staff. When you take a rod and you cut it from its roots, it has no ability to bear leaves, which indicate a coming of fruit. Consider then that when we have authority that is detached from the roots, that is the patriarchs, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, when we are disconnected from the patriarchs and the covenant that they walk in, when we're disconnected from the Torah, that is the embodiment or the full expansion of this covenant that they were given. When we're disconnected from the patriarchs, we're also disconnected then from the Messiah that they were looking for. When we disconnect ourselves from these men from the Old Testament, we have no ability to have leaves or blossoms or fruit. We're fruitless. There's no life in us. We are dead pieces of wood. When Moshe went in, the one that was productive, the rod that had life in it, the rod that was indicating Yah's acceptance, was that of Aaron. Aaron represents the Levitical priesthood. How often have we heard and read that since the time of Messiah, that the Levitical priesthood and all of its offerings and its protocols have all been done away with? They found fulfillment in Messiah, therefore they are over. Let me offer you an example here to compare. A man and a woman engaged in a courtship and a betrothal, and they have the ceremony that officiates or officially declares their relationship, and they, in their time of intimacy and privacy, they consummate the marriage. One could say at that moment that the marriage has been fulfilled. Are they no longer married? Do they then go each their own separate way? No, there's much, much more than just the initial fulfillment of the marriage. There is the continuing of the relationship that should bring forth life in future generations and a building of a harmonious oneship between the two. When Yeshua came to declare if you want to use the word, the fulfillment of the Levitical priesthood, he was not declaring that it was over, but rather that their continuing operation, as we will see in the millennial kingdom and the reign of Messiah, it further declares and accentuates all that Yeshua has accomplished. We are warned in the book of Acts, if I can get there quickly, Rav Shaul writing in chapter number 20, he says this, in verse 28, "Therefore take heed to yourselves and to all the flock, among which the set-apart Spirit has made you overseers, to shepherd the assembly of Elohim, which he has purchased with his own blood. For I know this, that after my departure, savage wolves shall come in among you, not sparing the flock. Also from yourselves men shall arise, speaking distorted teachings, to draw away the taught ones after themselves. Therefore watch, remembering for 3 years, night and day, I did not cease to warn each one with tears." So he is warning us that these things are going to come to pass. If we go over to the book of Mark, chapter number 11, it says then that Yeshua, on verse 12, "On the next day when they had come out of Bethany, he was hungry, and seeing at a distance a fig tree having leaves, he went to see whether he would find any fruit on it. And when he came to it, he found none but leaves, for it was not the season for figs." More on that in a second. Yeshua responding said to it, "Let no one eat fruit from you ever again," and his taught ones heard it. He then goes to Jerusalem. He enters in to the set-apart place, and it's filled with commerce and money changers and animals and marketing, and he cleanses all of that out, not allowing anyone to carry their vessels through the set-apart place. He said, "My house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you made it a den of robbers." So when evening came, he went out of the city, and in the morning, passing by, they saw the fig tree dried up from its roots. And then Kepha, remembering, said to him, "Rabbi, look, the fig tree which you have cursed has withered." What is this cursing of the fig tree about? In the Garden of Eden, when man fell, when Adam and Chava failed, they hid themselves, covered themselves with fig leaves. Fig leaves comes then to represent man's halakhic application of Torah, how we judge ourselves, how we cover ourselves, how we determine that we're going to walk. It could be even argued, and I've done this, that when Yah was looking for them, that they were hiding, could have been that they were hiding in the branches of a fig tree. Man's own reasoning, man's own applications, man's ways of doing things. So the fig tree comes to represent then the halakhic body, that is the Sanhedrin court. It's not the nation of Israel, it's the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin, the leadership of Israel at that time, was fruitless. They cut themselves off from the patriarchs. Though they claimed to be Abraham's children, Yeshua said, "Not so. If you were Abraham's children, you would have done and would do what he did." Yochanan the Immerser said, "Don't you think that he's able to raise up children to Abraham from these rocks?" So Yeshua cursed the standing Sanhedrin of the day because it was fruitless. Folks, if we cut ourselves off, we lose the ability to bear fruit. So let's be connected with Shabbat. Enjoy your Shabbat. May you be found with His favor and His presence as you endeavor to enter into that place together. Shabbat shalom to you, to all who gather with you. We'll see you again next week.